Just saying, it's a crazy time. You can't afford not to like black people. You don't like black people enough, you could become one yourself. I'm not the only black man with a bunch of mug shots.
Right.
It's them young ones that come.
Yeah.
That'll do what you want.
Yeah.
Ain't nobody gonna tell me I'm independent. I pay my bills. Right. I pay the cost to be the boss. You the boss by yourself.
ESPN confirming to NBC it's cutting ties with its NFL commentator Shannon Sharpe. The move coming after Sharpe, of course, the Hall of Fame tight end, settled a lawsuit accusing him of sexual assault and battery.
Very grateful for that, but I just wished, of all things, like I said, hey, they did what they felt they needed to do, and I'm at peace with that. But I just wish, guys, this thing could have waited until Monday.
He was this close to a $100 million empire, and then boom. One scandal, one OnlyFans model, and Shannon Sharpe's entire career goes up in smoke. ESPN dropped him like he never existed. And the craziest part, Katt Williams saw it coming and tried to warn him on camera. This isn't just a fall from grace, it's a masterclass in how to lose it all in one reckless move. Stick around, because what you're about to hear is wilder than any sports headline you've ever seen. Katt Williams didn't mince words when it came to Shannon Sharpe, he let it rip, unapologetically and without hesitation. There was no softening the blow, no attempt to sugarcoat his opinion. In classic Katt fashion, he spoke with precision, candor and a sharp wit that didn't leave much room for misinterpretation. And after Shannon's unexpected fallout with ESPN, Katt wasn't exactly reaching for tissues or sending thoughts and prayers. In fact, he seemed almost unsurprised by the whole thing, like he'd already seen it coming from a mile away. Why? Because in Katt's eyes, Shannon's downfall wasn't just a matter of bad luck or public misjudgment, it was a slow-burning collapse rooted in pride, recklessness, and a blatant refusal to listen to the wisdom that, ironically, Shannon himself was always quick to hand out. It's not that Katt took joy in the crash, it's that he couldn't find a reason to feel sorry for a man who, by all accounts, had every resource and red flag in front of him and still chose to ignore them. Katt summed it up with a one-liner that cut deeper than most think pieces. It's hard to feel sorry for someone who spent years handing out advice, only to fall for one of the oldest tricks in the book. That wasn't just shade, it was a lesson, a reminder that it's easy to sound wise in front of a mic, but it's a whole different game to live that wisdom when the pressure's real and the stakes are high. For years, Shannon had built a reputation as a man of discipline, focus, and control, someone who rose from humble beginnings to the peak of sports media and made sure to lecture others along the way about staying sharp, moving smart, and keeping your circle clean. And yet, when it really mattered, he didn't follow his own playbook. Katt's commentary touched a nerve, not because it was cruel, but because it was true. In the world of celebrity, where egos are inflated and mistakes are quickly spun into redemption arcs, it's rare to see someone call out the emperor with no clothes. But Katt, always the outsider with a sharp eye and a sharper tongue, wasn't having it. He wasn't going to participate in a pity party for someone who, in his view, had every opportunity to avoid this exact situation. And let's not forget, this wasn't the first time Katt had raised a flag. He had already warned Shannon faced no less about the risks he was taking, especially when it came to how he navigated his personal life within the public spotlight. But the warning fell on deaf ears. Shannon chose to move as though the rules didn't apply to him, as if his charisma and platform would be enough to protect him from real-world consequences. That miscalculation cost him not just a chunk of money, but also his credibility, his seat at one of the biggest sports networks in the country, and potentially a $100 million media empire he was just steps away from sealing. The irony in all of this, Shannon often prided himself on being calculated, measured, and in control. He wasn't the wild card or the loose cannon, he was supposed to be the voice of reason in the room. But even the most disciplined minds can become blinded by ego, comfort, or unchecked power. Katt's words serve as a cautionary tale. When your brand is built on wisdom, your downfall feels heavier when it stems from foolishness. Katt, as always, delivers his messages through humor, but beneath the laughs is often uncomfortable truth. And the truth here is simple. Success doesn't make you immune to consequences. Wisdom that isn't practiced is just noise. And no matter how high you rise, if you ignore the ground you're standing on, gravity will find you.
Women are as great as any other women. But I'm not gonna act like I'm not scared of them. I have a reason to be scared. You could be Kang the Conqueror, and they could take your rabbit ass down in 2 weeks.
Right after Shannon Sharpe finalized a jaw-dropping $50 million settlement with OnlyFans model Gabriela Zuniga, ESPN wasted no time showing him the door. But here's where it gets layered. Katt Williams had already given him a direct warning. Right on, Club Shay Shay. No sugarcoating. Katt looked him in the eye and said it straight. Navigating relationships with white women in this industry can be a dangerous game. One that's not easy to walk away from clean. And Katt wasn't the only one waving the caution flag. Monique tried to guide him too, offering grounded, heartfelt advice. She wasn't preaching, just trying to help him avoid exactly what ended up happening. But Shannon? He brushed it all off, full speed ahead, into the storm. Now the consequences are writing their own headlines. No job, social media roasting him, daily, and his reputation in cleanup mode. That $50 million settlement didn't just close a chapter, it opened a floodgate. ESPN didn't flinch. They simply walked away.
I didn't want to get with a white woman because I was scared she might have me running down the street like Jonathan Majors.
Come on, Katt.
Not because I didn't like white women. I think white women are as great as any other women. But I'm not gonna act like I'm not scared of them. I have a reason to be scared. You could be Kang the Conqueror, and they could take your rabbit ass down in 2 weekends. And that's the truth of the matter. So I stayed away from that.
You see Jonathan Majors, what he went through, Marvel dropped him as soon as the conviction came out. And you were telling the
Hey, you saw that black woman come get his charge cut in half? Thank you, Megan Good. God bless you coming to save that slave. If he'd had to be there by himself, he was getting all four. Guilty, 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 guilty. She came in there, was just so beautiful, they had to knock half of it off.
Let's be real, what major network is eager to associate with someone whose name is making headlines for all the wrong reasons? A $50 million lawsuit tied to a scandal that's serious. That is not exactly resume material. Meanwhile, Katt Williams is sitting back, arms crossed, watching it all unfold like, didn't I warn you? According to those in Shannon's circle, there's not an ounce of pity coming from Katt's direction. Why? Because Shannon had it all: platform, influence, legacy, and still made choices that tossed it all into chaos. It's hard to feel sorry when the downfall was avoidable.
Obviously, I'm sure everybody's heard the news by now that I will not be returning to ESPN. I found out this information a little earlier in the week, and really the only thing that I really ask is, like, guys, could we wait until Monday? My brother's going into the Pro Football Hall of Fame. I really wanted to be about him, and I wanted to be about my family. I know this coming out will overshadow everything that he's worked his entire life for. And unfortunately, it didn't happen that way. And so, as I told him, as I profusely apologized to him earlier today, he said, bro, stop apologizing. You don't have to apologize. I'm your big bro. I'm going to love you regardless. We all make mistakes. And he says, bro, I love you. So I'm done with this. You're done with it too. Move on. And, I really enjoyed my time at ESPN. It gave me an opportunity to bring my audience that saw me really just grow. They saw me, Lakers in 5, and they saw me say all these analogies that my grandparents gave me, and I was able to bring that to ESPN. So I'm very, very grateful for that. But I just wished, of all things, like I said, hey, they did what they felt they needed to do, and I'm at peace with that. But I just wish, guys, this thing could have waited until Monday, because I hate the fact that I'm overshadowing my brother, the first 2 brothers in the Pro Football Hall of Fame, and this is what the headline's going to be for the next couple of days. So, bro, again, I know you told me this, I don't have to apologize, but I'm going to do it one final time tonight, and I won't apologize again. I'm sorry that I upstaged you in this manner. That was never my intent. You've been my hero. You've been my role model from as long as I can remember. And I apologize, and I thank all my fans for supporting me when I was at ESPN and every place that I've been, be it Club Shay Shay, Nightcap, Undisputed, ESPN. Thank you guys for your...
Now here's where things really take a turn. According to someone close to the situation, Katt Williams didn't issue that warning about white women in the industry just to stir the pot. He already knew what was going on behind the scenes. Turns out, Katt was well aware of Shannon's entanglement with that young OnlyFans model long before any lawsuit ever hit the headlines. He saw the trap forming long before Shannon even realized he was walking into one. At the time, it seemed like Katt was just riffing on the Jonathan Majors controversy, but nah. He was throwing darts at Shannon, cleverly veiled, yes, but aimed with precision. Once again, it proves what many have been saying for years. Katt may clown, but he rarely speaks without facts. Meanwhile, Shannon waved off the warnings, thinking a quiet multi-million-dollar payout would patch things up and protect his standing at ESPN, but that gamble didn't pay off. ESPN still pulled the plug. And, as if that wasn't enough, the model at the center of it, all Gabriella Zuniga, made her exit just 24 hours after the settlement broke. She took to Instagram with a polished farewell. "Today, I've decided to retire from OnlyFans, and thank you for the incredible support over the years. This community changed my life." She teased new ventures and promised to stay online. But, let's be honest, after walking away with a payday like that, the hustle doesn't need to look the same anymore. Shannon Sharpe didn't just lose a lawsuit, he accidentally handed someone a golden parachute. Gabriella Zuniga didn't walk away, she cashed out. That one entanglement set her up for life, and now she's officially retired from OnlyFans, signing off with a grateful Instagram post and hinting at future projects. But let's not kid ourselves, after a settlement that size, she doesn't need to hustle again. One chaotic chapter with a 50-year-old man still navigating fame recklessly, and boom, generational wealth secured. Meanwhile, Shannon's the one picking up the pieces. And the internet. Ruthless, it's not just that he got played, it's the glaring hypocrisy people can't ignore. This is the same man who once bragged about capping his daughter's wedding at $30,000, only for texts to leak showing he was dropping $25,000 per session on an OnlyFans model. That detail hit hard. Social media tore into him. With one user summing it up, Shannon Sharpe was stingy with his own daughter's wedding, but tossed millions at a girl who saw him as an ATM. That one hit different, and just when it seemed the damage couldn't get worse, ESPN delivered the final blow, cutting him loose with chilling silence. No statement. No comment. Not even a courtesy press release. When People magazine reached out, ESPN simply ignored the request like Shannon Sharpe had never existed. Shannon finally broke his silence on his Nightcap podcast on July 30th. He said he was at peace with ESPN's decision, but then admitted he had begged them behind closed doors, begged them not to announce the firing until after his brother, Sterling Sharpe, was inducted into the Pro Football Hall of Fame. He even apologized to Sterling later, knowing that his own scandal had overshadowed what should have been his brother's moment in the spotlight. But ESPN and Disney weren't having it. No emotion. No mercy. No pause. They shut him out like he never mattered. Here's the part that stings the most. Shannon was this close to signing a $100 million media deal. Just 3 days before Gabriella filed the lawsuit, Front Office Sports reported that Shannon was in advanced talks for a podcast empire deal that would have included Club Shay Shay, Nightcap, Club 520, Bubba Dub Show, and Humble Baddies. All of it gone. Dead on arrival. One mistake torched his shot at building a media dynasty, and when you burn a bridge with the Disney machine ESPN, Hulu, ABC, and the entire sprawling empire, they don't just let it smolder. They torch it, seal the ashes in concrete, and keep it moving like you were never there. That world doesn't believe in quiet forgiveness when the controversy is loud. Their loyalty isn't to individuals, it's to image, legacy, and bottom lines. And Shannon Sharpe's situation. This wasn't a mild misstep or some behind-the-scenes drama. It was loud, messy, public, and unforgettable. Disney doesn't do redemption arcs when the headlines are messy. The receipts are real, and the brand is at risk. And once you're blacklisted in that orbit, there are no second chances, no calls from execs trying to smooth things over. You don't get a private apology or a slow reintegration. You're simply erased. Cold, efficient, permanent. Katt Williams, whether people want to admit it or not, saw this coming like a storm on the horizon. He didn't just drop jokes for laughs, he dropped warnings dressed as punchlines. But the brilliance of Katt is that beneath every comedic jab is a deeper truth. He gave Shannon a heads up, face to face, that the path he was walking would lead to this. And now, no sympathy, no tears, just facts. Because, in Katt's view, Shannon Sharpe didn't just stumble, he sprinted past every warning sign with his eyes wide open. Let's not pretend. Shannon didn't have it all. Money, influence, cultural relevance. The rare crossover appeal that had him winning in both sports media and entertainment. Club Shay Shay was thriving. Major networks were lining up. Podcasting giants were circling with checks ready to be signed. He had the momentum of a man on the verge of building a media empire. But all of that evaporated the moment he chose short-term Indulgence over long-term vision. What's left now is a trail of canceled deals, paused projects, and a legacy that's no longer defined by achievement, but by scandal. And the irony. It wasn't business decisions or industry politics that brought him down. It was personal choices, emotional choices, ego-driven choices. And that brings us to a question people can't stop asking. Was this downfall inevitable? Was this simply the result of a man making bad decisions in private that couldn't be hidden once the spotlight hit them? Or did ESPN and Disney move to fast-cutting ties before the full truth came out, choosing brand protection over human complexity? And let's really sit with this. How does a man who famously told the world he wouldn't spend more than $30,000 on his daughter's wedding end up shelling out millions in hush money to someone he barely knew? That comparison hit people hard. It wasn't just about hypocrisy, it was about values, priorities. What matters when no one's watching? One moment, he's telling black fathers to be financially wise and careful with their daughters' futures. The next, he's caught up in a whirlwind scandal, throwing luxury-level money at a 19-year-old model in an attempt to clean up a mess he created. And now, those once loyal fans, they're questioning everything. The credibility, the integrity, the image Shannon Sharpe spent years building brick by brick is now cracked at the foundation. And worse, it might be irreparable. So now the floor is yours. Do you think this was Shannon's fall from grace, or a media empire cutting ties before giving him a fair shot to recover? Was the payout a calculated legal move, or a desperate Hail Mary that failed to protect his seat at the table? More importantly, how does a man known for preaching discipline and control lose it all over something so fleeting? Let's hear from you. Drop your thoughts in the comments, no holding back. Hit like if you feel the truth hit somewhere deep. Share this with your crew so the conversation grows. And don't forget to subscribe and tap that bell, because this story, it's far from over. Until next time, stay sharp, stay smart, and remember, every move matters.